Jeff Mayoncalda, nuestro primer invitado, pertenece a este grupo de pioneros. Es el director ejecutivo de Coursera, una compañía dedicada a transformar nuestra vida a través de la enseñanza. Y para hablar con él tenemos con nosotros a Lucía Figar, jefa de innovación corporativa de IE University. Jeff, Lucía, welcome to Enlighted 2020.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you for taking part in Enlighted 2020. We know it's a little bit early in Mountain View, California, so your presence is highly appreciated by all of us. Please go ahead with your presentation, and maybe I can ask you a few questions later.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Marta. I'm going to share my screen, and when I do, I think my camera will go off, but hopefully my screen will share.
Ups, parece que hemos tenido un pequeñito problema de conexión, Lucía, con esa conexión con Jeff Mayoncalda. Fíjate, Lucía, porque hace un momento decíamos que Jeff Mayoncalda es uno de los grandes. Creo que ya lo tenemos, que ya lo hemos recuperado. Mr. Mayoncalda, can you hear us?
I can. Are we ready? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, go ahead.
Can you see my screen? Great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jeff Mayoncalda. I'm the CEO of Coursera, and I would love to talk about the transformation of digital education. And it's been a very challenging time, but it has been very rewarding to see how higher education has come together on the Coursera platform and on other platforms to help higher education rise to the challenge. Before I start, I want to tell you a little bit about Coursera. We see ourselves as a learning ecosystem. The company was started by two professors from Stanford, Daphne Koller and Andrew Ng. And we see ourselves as really a platform that brings together learners and educators and institutions. We now have 72 million learners in the world, many in Europe, many in the US, but 80% of the learners are outside of the United States. On the educator side, we have 150 of the top universities and now 50 industry partners. These are companies who have authored courses on Coursera. And the reason that they are interested in putting courses on Coursera is because they want to teach the world. They want to reach learners individually and through institutions so that they can extend their ability to reach and teach anywhere in the world. And then the final piece is institutions. 5 years ago, Coursera launched Coursera for Business. That was followed by Coursera for Government. And then just last year in October, we launched Coursera for Campus. This is a version of Coursera where our partners' courses, online courses, are available to any college or university in the world. So Coursera really sits in the center of an ecosystem that brings together learners and educators and over 6,000 institutions. We partner with some of the top universities. Many are in the US, many are in Europe, and we also are proud to partner with some of the best institutions in Spain, who together have authored over 100 courses natively, and we've also translated over 1,500 courses into Spanish. So there's a fairly broad catalog of Spanish language content on Coursera as well. I mentioned that we have 72 million learners. This is how they're spread around the world. North America, Asia, Europe, and Latin America are our biggest presences. We have 1,300 learners in Spain. And in the last 12 months, things have grown very rapidly. We've actually doubled from 5 million to 10 million in India. Europe has grown about 50%. And the number of learners in Spain on Coursera has grown slightly less than that, at 43%. We partner with some of the best industry partners who also author courses on Coursera. And Coursera is also hired by some of the leading companies in the world who are using Coursera and our partners' courses to upskill and reskill their workforces digitally. The catalog has been growing over the years. Since we started in 2012, the catalog has grown to over 4,500 courses mostly in business and technology and data science. Business, technology, and data science, those are the three domains that most businesses are interested in using to upskill and reskill their employees. In January of 2019, we launched our health initiative. We now have, with our partners, over 500 healthcare courses and a couple of public health degrees on Coursera as well. In addition to courses, we have projects. I'll mention that in a second. And we have over 150,000 lectures from professors that are embedded inside of these courses. So really, there's over 150,000 unique lecture videos from some of the top professors and minds in the world. And the way that this content is put together on Coursera is stackable. So many people are familiar with open MOOCs. These are the open courses that people can take. There are over 4,500 courses our provider partners have put on. And you can take any of these lectures for free. If you want to get a certificate, that usually costs about $49. We also have series of courses, we call them specializations, that teach a skill in a bit more detail. We have professional certificates that largely come from our industry partners. And we now have more than 20 of our partners delivering fully accredited online master's degrees and bachelor's degrees on Coursera. These are not Coursera degrees. These are degrees from the University of Pennsylvania, HEC Business School in Paris, the University of Illinois, University of Michigan, and many others like Imperial College of London and University of London. They are fully delivered online, and when the student finishes, they get a diploma from the university itself. And then recently we launched projects. These are hands-on projects that complement courses, so you can learn the theory in a course and actually build a project online in something that we call Coursera Labs, and I'll describe Coursera Labs in a moment. When people talk about stackability, it's very valuable because offering a part of a degree or part of a course open and for free is a great way to attract new students to a course or to a degree program, but it's also a learning strategy. Many people aren't ready to take a full degree. They want some of the foundational learning. And by allowing people to come in for just one course that they can try for free, they can not only engage and get to know the professor and the institution, but they can also learn some of the foundational material that is required to take a full degree program. So we think of stackability as a marketing strategy. We also think of it as a learning strategy. I also would like to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of collaboration between industry partners and university partners. For many individuals, they do not have a college degree and they are in jobs that are likely going to be automated. And so they're looking to transition their careers. We've been working with a number of industry partners to build professional certificates for entry-level jobs that do not require a college degree and do not require any background in the field. The first professional certificate that we launched was with Google in January of 2018. It teaches somebody online who has no college degree or any background in computers the skills that it takes to be an IT support professional. There are many, many open IT support jobs. These are digital jobs with good careers and good pay, and many people are looking to transition into IT jobs. This 5-course series is designed to be delivered entirely online for people with no college degree. Since we launched with Google in 2018, we have had over 320,000 enrollments into the Google IT certificate. Over 60% of the students do not have a college degree. About 60% identify as Black, Latino, female, or veteran, and almost half of them report earning less than $30,000 a year. So it's a very low-cost, affordable on-ramp to IT skills. Now, many people might say, learners need additional help. Not all learners can learn entirely online. That's why we partner with what we call workforce partners. In the US, one of the biggest institutions who provides hands-on, face-to-face coaching, mentoring, and learning support is Goodwill. We also work with Merit America. We also work with more than 100 community colleges where a student taking the Google IT Support Certificate can go to a classroom and talk to a teacher who will help them through the IT Support Online Certificate. So face-to-face support is available through nonprofit partners for learners who need that kind of support. Now, once someone finishes the IT Support Certificate, we've worked with Google to create hiring partnerships with many large companies who are looking to hire people in IT. These include Intel, H&R Block, Walmart, Bank of America, and others. And they will interview graduates of the Google IT Support Certificate because many companies are looking to hire people who don't have college degrees and don't have a background in the field. So one pathway from the Google IT Support Certificate is a career pathway to a job, but there's also a pathway to a degree. We've had our partners at University of London and our partners at Northeastern University and our partners at University of North Texas decide to extend academic credit towards a bachelor's degree in computer science for anyone who finishes the Google IT Support Certificate. And what we see is many students finishing the professional certificate, getting a job in IT, and then beginning an online bachelor's degree where they're already employed in a decent paying job. We launched the Google IT Support Certificate in January of 2018. We are now live with 3 certificates from IBM for entry-level data science, entry-level cybersecurity analyst, and entry-level data analyst with Python. These are all no college degree, no background in the field for entry-level roles. We just launched a certificate with Facebook for social media marketing for people who want to get into a job in digital marketing. We just launched a professional certificate with Salesforce for people who would like to transition their career into a sales job. We just announced with Google 3 additional entry-level professional certificates, one with data analyst, one for software project management, one with UX design. And then we just announced 2 weeks ago a professional certificate for entry-level jobs into bookkeeping positions with Intuit Bookkeeper Professional Certificate. So industry players are coming in to help educate people. It provides a path to a job. It provides a path to an online degree. And we think it'll be a wonderful on-ramp to economic opportunity. I'll briefly talk about Coursera Labs. This is where students in a browser can do hands-on projects using real-world tools like Photoshop or Salesforce or R or Tableau or Google Sheets or HTML. They can build hands-on projects and they can show to their employer that they know how to use the software tools to do a job. What's neat about Coursera Labs is you don't have to download any software. You don't have to install or configure any software. You don't have to download any data sets. On the right side of your browser, you see the instructor's screen. It could be recorded or live. On the left side is your own private workspace identical to the instructor's, where you can actually build a live project by following along with the instructors. This hands-on learning is a great complement to the more theoretical learning that we often see in universities. We've noticed especially that students in universities love taking these guided projects. I think when they're looking at employability and they're thinking about interviewing for a job, being able to say, I know how to use that tool is a really wonderful part of the interview prep process. They can say, I know how to use Jupyter Notebooks. I know how to use Python. I know how to program in Visual Code Studio. And what we've seen in the most popular projects you can see here on the screen is that students want to learn how to build websites. They want to learn HTML. They want to learn Python. They want to learn how to do project management. They want to learn databases and SQL as well. So these projects are a wonderful complement to a college degree because it can help them interview for jobs and learn the tools needed to do those jobs. I'll talk a little bit about COVID-19 and then wrap. As many folks know, when the pandemic spread, 1.6 billion students from kindergarten through college saw their schools closed. What we saw was a huge demand in online learning that shifted, especially in March and April. Globally, we've had 61 million enrollments since the pandemic started. This is up almost 500% from last year. And especially we're seeing learners who are new to Coursera come onto online learning. In Spain, we're also seeing dramatic growth. You can see in March and April, when the virus really started impacting Spain, we saw a large surge in online learning, 660,000 course enrollments, up 250% from the same time a year ago. As these campuses closed, our partners, our university partners in Spain and all around the world came together and decided to offer their courses for free to any college or university in the world who needed to provide online instruction and who did not have a catalog of 4,000 online courses like our partners have created. So we launched what we called the Campus Response Initiative. This is Coursera for Campus, free to any college or university in the world. It started on March 12th and it ran through September 30th. In February, there were 30 colleges using Coursera for Campus. Within 7 months, that number went from 30 to 3,700. Institutions all over the world, in the Americas, in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, in India and Asia Pacific, universities and colleges embraced Coursera for Campus. It's all free. They had 2.5 million students in just 7 months. 2.5 million students took 22 million free courses from our university partners who made these courses available at no cost to the world's higher education system. Interestingly, 70% of these students access these courses not only online, but on a mobile device. Mobile is extremely important, especially in emerging economies. What were the students taking? They were taking courses from University of Michigan in programming, over 500,000 course enrollments. They're taking courses in neural networks and deep learning and natural language processing. They're taking courses in writing professional emails. They're taking courses from Macquarie University in Australia on Excel for Business. They're learning skills in bioinformatics, digital marketing, algorithms, graphic design, and many other cutting-edge skills for the jobs of tomorrow. I'll finish up here with some challenges for higher education, and then in a few minutes, we will be able to break for some Q&A. When we look around the world, as I mentioned, we have 150 of the top universities in the world. We now have almost 4,000 other universities using Coursera for Campus. Here's what we're seeing. We're seeing a dramatic focus from students and from schools on employability. In a post-COVID world, well, it's not quite yet post-COVID, but in a re-emerging COVID world, individual students are really looking for job-relevant education. They want that college degree that says I was accepted and I've completed a rigorous 4-year program. And they also want skills that will make them job ready. Universities are looking at how to lower the cost of delivering education. Online and delivering online courses for credit has turned out to be a great way for universities to reduce cost. Universities, especially in India and Latin America, are trying to figure out how to serve more students without building more buildings or hiring more professors. And the scale of online learning is very effective in growing the capacity of a university. Interestingly, many universities, when they started with Coursera for Campus, did not start by offering courses for their students. They started by offering courses to their faculty. Most faculty in the world before March had never done online learning. A great way to learn how to teach online is to look at some of the best schools who have done this online learning for the last 8 years. And so we had many faculty development programs being delivered using our Coursera for Campus program. And then finally, many universities want to be on the cutting edge of online hands-on projects, online degrees, and Coursera has been a way to do that. So what we're seeing now in terms of what universities are looking for from Coursera, they're looking for academic integrity to make sure that they can not only assess the knowledge of their students, but make sure that there's no cheating, there's no plagiarism, and that the person who's taking the test really is who they think it should be. And so we've added plagiarism detection, the ability to write private exams that are not on the internet using question banks, and having basic ability for professors to monitor the academic integrity of their assessments. We're making it easier for professors to look at their courses that they're teaching on campus and map it to our partners' courses, which are on Coursera. Many universities want to license content from our partners on Coursera, and they also want to build their own content that they can deliver to their students. So private authoring is another major capability that will allow any university to author courses for free and deliver them to their students online on Coursera for free. We also have just announced at the Zoom Global Conference direct imports from Zoom into Coursera. So any professor who's lecturing on Zoom can click a button, they can start recording to Coursera, and when their lecture is over, it's immediately available on Coursera and it's available on the mobile app. We see a lot of interest from students in student employability and the ability to not only take courses from our partners and build projects on Coursera, but to measure their skills and benchmark a student's skills against someone who has that job from our Coursera for Business customer base. So helping students know what skills do I need and at what level of proficiency to be employable at graduation is a big part of what our colleges and universities are looking for. And then mobile learning, as I mentioned, is important, not only while you're connected, but the ability to download courses and take courses offline when you have intermittent connectivity, and even in some areas of the world, intermittent power, where you actually have to use a battery-based device in order to do your learning. So in summary, COVID-19 has been a great tragedy, but as the Secretary General of the United Nations has said, it is an opportunity with technology, online learning, and remote working to potentially build a more equal world where there's better access not only to learning opportunity, but also to economic opportunity. And with that, I'm happy to take some questions. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Jeff. It's been a very insightful presentation, and Coursera's numbers are just incredible. When you were presenting, it came to my mind something that is repeatedly said at technology conferences. You know, Uber, the largest taxi company in the world, has no cars. Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate. Facebook, the largest media owner, creates no content. So following that analogy would say actually that Coursera is the largest education provider, but has no teachers, no students, no campuses, no content. So my first question is, do you expect to keep this incredible growth after humanity finds a vaccine and the virus hopefully is gone forever? Is this the future, you know, universities and tech companies putting their content in platforms like yours? Do you think online learning will become the standard? And if so, what do you think will be the role of the campuses, and what happens to that social, physical experience of the students?
It's a wonderful line of reasoning, and I think that you are spot on. My sense is that online learning is here to stay. And like you said, Coursera is really just a platform that allows higher education to support the transformation of higher education. It's actually universities from within helping other universities make this move online. And they're really sharing and licensing their courses for other universities that want to use those courses to help educate their students. So we hope that we can continue to be a place where universities collaborate with industry and with other universities to do a more effective job giving access to online learning to more students. I don't think that we'll ever have teachers ourselves. I don't think that we will have our own students. We will certainly not have our own degrees. We will never be a university, but we can enable universities to help other universities go through this transformation. The residential experience. What we are seeing is a reinvention of the way people teach, the way that students learn, and even the way that employees work. There's, I think, an analogy between online learning and online working. And just as we will never go back to the office 5 days a week and work in the same way that we used to work, I don't think that we will ever go back to a world where there's no online learning. But also, just as we're not going to always go back to work in the same way, we're also still going to have offices. We will still go back to the office every now and again, probably not everybody. At Coursera, we're thinking maybe 40% of our jobs will be remote and not in an office at all. But most will still have the ability to come to an office, probably 2 or 3 times a week. Some people might want to come 5 times a week. It depends on their preferences, really. I think the same will be true for education. I think that many students, especially adult learners who are working, who have jobs, who have families, and who cannot afford to stop their lives to go back to campus, will be able to have incredible learning experiences from the best universities. And it'll be more of a lifelong relationship that happens throughout my working career. So instead of only going to campus for 4 years and then being finished with my university, I think universities will create lifelong relationships with students that will happen on campus for many students and exist and extend for the full life of someone's working career and hopefully beyond.
It's interesting because we've seen in your presentation that Coursera has a wide catalog of courses from many universities in different disciplines. I think I saw 1,000 courses in business, 800 in data science, and so forth. So do you think that students navigating your platform will be interested in enrolling courses from, let's say, smaller institutions when they find right beside a very similar course from a bigger university with a better brand or better ranked, especially if, as you have explained, if that short course can be used later to access an elite university campus or a longer program? Should they feel threatened?
I don't think that they should feel threatened necessarily. I would feel if I were a university, I would be concerned if I did not have an ability to deliver online learning. Whether you author your own courses, whether you license courses on Coursera or edX or someplace else, every university needs to have a competency in delivering online learning. They can certainly have residential education programs, and I think many universities will still find that many students come for a residential experience. That will be very important for many students who want to experience that residential education for the 4 years of their life between being a young adult and entering the workforce. But any university that is not building the capacity to teach online and to author courses online, I think is falling behind. How's the competition and the competitive landscape going to settle out? I think what's going to happen is that universities will really have to spend more time thinking about what do we offer that is particularly valuable? What discipline, what experience, what professors, what research, what relationships with other institutions like employers or nonprofits or government agencies, what experience and what knowledge can we give to students that's unique? And I think they're going to focus on those things they're good at, and then they will partner and collaborate to fill in the gaps with other universities who do other things well.
Okay. And in your presentation also you have showed that low-skilled jobs are the ones hit hardest by the virus. Jobs performed by qualified people holding bachelor's degree have been less vulnerable. And in addition to this, low-skilled jobs are the ones with the highest risk of automation. They will be done by robots in the future. And despite the data you have showed in the Google IT support certificate, MOOC reports normally show that the average learner is someone that already has a university degree or a college degree, or at least a significant educational background or professional experience. So do you think MOOC platforms are essentially for lifelong learners? What are the challenges to reach the unskilled? Because if finally online courses don't impact the disadvantaged people with a low educational background, maybe we would have to face critics saying that MOOCs are widening the digital divide, by reskilling the already skilled and not closing the gap.
I think that that's a very valid concern if Coursera did not expand and innovate the kinds of content on the platform and the audiences that we reach. Certainly in the first 5 years of Coursera's life, from 2012 through 2017, it was almost exclusively university content in advanced subjects being learned by people who have bachelor's degrees already, and some have master's degrees and PhDs. But what's happened in the last 3 years or so is we've really, by bringing on some of these industry partners, focusing on building not just content, but credentials, certificates, professional programs with employment opportunities, and then delivering that to workplaces, to government workforce development agencies, and onto campuses as well. We are now reaching populations who don't have college degrees in ways that we were not reaching them 3 years ago. A major part of this is what we called the Workforce Recovery Initiative, where, like we offered Coursera for Campus free to any university, we in April started offering Coursera for Government free to any government to help unemployed people reskill for new jobs. And through the Workforce Recovery Initiative, government workforce development agencies are using these entry-level digital job training programs to reach audiences of people who do not have college degrees and who do not have backgrounds in the field. So I think we started mostly with higher ed for people who've already had degrees from higher education, and now we are expanding the content, the credential, and the audiences that we're reaching.
Partnerships with governments are essentially for the unskilled, would you say that? Okay, interesting. Okay, and out of those 72 million learners, that's a number, is this a number that actually enroll the course or the number of students that finalize the course? I mean, I know your answer, but I just wanted to have some insight from you on completion rates. Why are they so low, and how is Coursera and its partners working to increase completion rates? Is this a challenge? Does this concern you? And what are the barriers? And essentially, is it possible to improve those figures without surrendering either depth by making courses shorter or more or easier, or accessibility, which means selecting students?
It's a wonderful question. And I think that we in higher education often come to this question with an understandable bias. And the bias is this: in the traditional world of higher education, where a young person would expect to spend 4 years or 3 years if you're in Britain getting a college degree, and sometimes pay considerable amounts of money, and in the United States go into considerable debt in order to buy that education, where you only get the degree if you complete. Completion is very important. If you ask, how many people ask how many YouTube videos were completed, how many Netflix movies are completed, there are many things that don't require a high completion rate. What we see is when students come onto Coursera and start a course for free, about 10% will complete that course. But many of those students did not ever expect to complete the course. When you look at the individual lecture videos, among those who start a lecture, these are 5 to 10 minutes, we find that 96% of students who start a lecture finish the lecture. For free courses, only 10% finish the full course. But when a student pays for the course and they're looking for that credential, the certificate that says, I completed this course, we see that the completion rates are about 50%. When students at work take courses that their employers want them to take, we see the completion rates are about 60%. When they're doing workforce development programs like a COVID contact tracing course from Johns Hopkins University, the completion rate is 90%. And when they're doing an online degree on Coursera, the completion rate is over 90%. So it depends. Why is the student learning? If they're learning to get a credential and they must finish for that, then they're more likely to finish. If they're just learning a lecture or they want to learn a new skill, oftentimes they will not finish. And that's okay, because they didn't pay anything. They didn't lose anything. They spent some time, they learned something new, and they got what they wanted.
But which do you think will be the trend that will prevail?
I think it's sort of a try before you buy. If you look at the number of students, we have over 10,000 students taking online degrees from our partners, professors and universities today. Over 60% of those students in online degree programs earning degrees online on Coursera, over 60% of them started by trying an open course first. Try before you buy. Let me see if I'm interested in this topic. Let me see if I like this professor. I've never met this university. Let me introduce myself to this university. Without paying anything, I can try it. I can see if this is something that's interesting, if I'm good at it. And then if I like it and I feel that this is something I want to pursue, I can continue to do that. But I do think that the future is, like with many things, trying before you buy, letting people sample things, explore before they make a big time and investment, a financial investment. I think that's going to work. And most people studying on degrees online will have started in some shorter open course online.
Nice. So let's now talk about stackability, which is a trend that interested me a lot, and I think the audience will appreciate your comments on it. For those not familiar with the word, it means, as Jeff has showed in his slides, cutting long programs into shorter modules, which gives students credentials and then allowing them to accumulate or stack them together at their own pace. How do you see this trend? Because it seems to me it can be a huge source of innovation. Do you see it that way?
It is. You know, once you take something that was once monolithic and you can break it into modular pieces and you can recombine those pieces, even across institutions, even across schools and colleges, even across industries, suddenly the number of combinations and possibilities really opens up. So I would encourage those in higher education to think about stackability in a few ways. For sure, building a degree online, and at the time that you design that online degree, thinking about what will be the modules that people can take as discrete parts of the learning process that can then stack into this full degree, that makes good sense. Building a stackable degree from the outset makes good sense. Another thing that we're seeing, and University of Michigan is doing a wonderful job here, they have multiple degrees on Coursera, and each of these degrees is stackable in the degree, but now they're starting to mix and match pieces across degrees. So they have a Master's of Public Health, they have a Master's of Applied Data Science, they just announced a Master's of Population Science, and they're starting to mix the different pieces, all from Michigan and all part of online degree programs, but now they're starting to mix pieces of their degree programs for interdisciplinary stackability, still within the institution of University of Michigan and still only within online degrees, but across colleges at University of Michigan. We also have industry to higher education stackability. That's something that the two parties did not agree on ahead of time, but University of London looked at the Google IT cert and says, we can articulate credit to that Google IT certificate. So you can have stackability across institutions that was not predetermined. And then another thing that I think is really exciting with universities is many universities, in a sense, are allowing their students to take courses from universities on Coursera and have that count as credit towards an on-campus college degree. That's almost a sort of stackability as well. Taking an online course from a Duke and having it count towards a degree at NMIMS University in India is a way of multi-higher educational institution stackability.
So you expect actually students, let's say, mixing programs and certificates or modules, you know, from one university with another and with industry, tech companies like you cited, and also offline and online? Is this going to be actually the you know, what the future is about?
Absolutely. We now have almost 4,000 colleges and universities around the world using our partners' courses as part of their on-campus program, which has now been moved online. Well more than half, I want to say about 75% of those universities, especially in India and Latin America, are actually offering credit towards their degree for students who finish courses on Coursera. It's not up to the student whether it's stackable, it's up to the institution whether it's stackable. Since the institution determines what counts as stackable credit towards the degree that we confer to our students, they will decide what they award credit for or not. So I think the idea that students will actually piece together different modules for credit, that's probably not going to happen. The higher education institution still will own the integrity of their credential, of their degree. They will determine for what type of learning and credentials they will articulate credit, and the institution will be the ones who design and control stackability.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Now let me change. You have, I'm not going to ask you what is the valuation of Coursera, but you have way past unicorn valuation. What is the core competence of Coursera today? I'm sure it's not the same as 10 years ago, but regarding technology, I would like to know, what are the most important challenges for you right now? Is it data analytics or learning analytics? Is it technologies for student authentication? Maybe incorporating technologies like gaming, virtual reality, augmented reality, more collaborative tools in regards of the retention and engagement of students. What are your tech challenges of a platform like yours?
Well, there's what are our challenges and core competencies, and then also what are the technology challenges and core competencies. Let me start with the broader question of what does Coursera need to do well in order for us to continue to serve students and our partners. It really is a continuation of what started with Andrew and Daphne. They were both computer scientists at Stanford when they launched Coursera in 2012. The core competence was really two things. One is being very good instructors who can create online instruction that students around the world wanted. And the second was building an online learning experience so that students who took those courses can master the knowledge and the skills needed to complete the courses. And to a large degree, that's still what this is about. We need to continue to provide better tools for our partners to author high quality content that's available on the platform. We need to continue to expand the ways that students can learn. And a lot of that is mobile, a lot of that's offline. We've been making a lot of investments in Coursera Labs. We believe that hands-on learning, the application of that knowledge that universities are so good at teaching, to be applied using job-relevant tools, software tools with data sets, especially in a world of digital transformation and cloud computing. Applying skills with real-world tools is very important. We're spending an awful lot of time and money building Coursera Labs, both for students in university as well as working professionals. And then a third thing that we are really focused on, it's kind of basic, but we're trying to really extend the reach for our partners. Our university partners want to reach students all around the world. They want to reach learners in the workplace as well. So growing our reach, helping our partners take their professors, their content and their credentials and reach every corner of the world is a major part of what we're focused on as well.
You've said in your presentation also that COVID has accelerated change in universities. You have explained it very beautifully with all the icons. And one of those challenges, if not most, is student employability. That means delivering job-relevant skills to improve employability. I honestly think IE University is very good at that. We are very close to market and employers. We're quite fast in design and structuring courses with relevant hard and soft skills. But generally speaking, in the world or maybe in the US, you know that system very well. Why do you think universities are not filling that skills gap? You have named a few digital, let's say, profiles, marketing, digital marketing, blockchain, coding, graphic design. Do you think the transition to online learning or the digitization will actually spur universities to improve their courses, alignment to the labor market? Or because you see all these tech skills, it's always tech companies that I mean, do they have to be the only providers? Or is it because they're, you know, the fast changing market environment, you know, gives them an advantage in that sense?
I think that the fast-changing environment is the root cause of why it's so hard to keep up with employers' needs. Depending on where you go in the world, some employers will say that the college graduates of certain universities are sort of well-trained for their jobs. Others will say, you know, not as well-trained. I believe, and you know, so I went to college and I was an English major and I double majored in English and quantitative economics. I loved the liberal arts. I love humanities. I also know that learning how to use computers and program computers and learning statistics is also very important. My sense is that what universities are very, very good at, distinctively good at, is pushing the boundaries of human knowledge, being pioneers in research, knowledge, theory, concepts, frameworks. These things are durable. These things are transferable. In a world that's rapidly changing, knowing how a certain system works can very well be the key to solving a problem in a different domain. And so I personally think it's really important that universities continue to be on the cutting edge of research and focused more on knowledge. I think what's beautiful about where we're heading is that through collaboration, universities can continue to do what they do well, which is that deep, durable knowledge that's not specific to one technology tool or another technology tool. Let industry do the tools training. Let universities break new ground in the frontiers of knowledge. And then what you have, I think, is a wonderful partnership where universities are teaching and breaking new ground in knowledge, and the companies are helping students apply that knowledge to specific tools with specific business contexts and specific data sets. To me, that's the beauty of courses from universities and projects from industry. I mean, for me, it seems very simple, but we see many of the universities saying, you know, we're going to continue to teach those theoretical courses, and we're going to use a lot of these projects from Coursera as industry partners just to make sure that our students have those skill tools. We're not going to have to teach them, though. We can get that on Coursera.
But okay, seeing how Coursera has evolved and all these partnerships and a wide range of courses, would you define yourself today as a MOOC platform? And if so, what is for you, Jeff, at MOOC today? Because it seems to be that every single letter is negotiable. Massive. What does massive mean today? Open is free. Open is a free entrance, a free cost. Online, course. What is for you a MOOC? And do you think Coursera today, where you are today with 72 million learners, all of you have achieved, is it a MOOC platform?
We think of Coursera as a global learning platform. I mean, certainly the idea that you can come to Coursera and in massive numbers with millions of people. One of the courses from Yale that was published last year is called The Science of Wellbeing by Dr. Laurie Santos. And it's all about how humans make choices, and certain choices make us happy and other ones make us less happy. We've had over 3 million enrollments in that one course in 2020 alone. Now, that's massive. And the vast majority of people did not pay for it. That's open, and it is a course. So there definitely are, it is fair to say, are there MOOCs on Coursera? Absolutely. And is that model of big, open, accessible, and free, is that important? Absolutely. But Coursera has grown into much more than just a MOOC platform, because now some of these MOOCs are earning students credits towards college degrees in countries that are halfway around the world from the professor that authored that MOOC. And many of these MOOCs are actually being authored by industry. And many of these MOOCs aren't even MOOCs. They're online degree programs with live lectures with professors and study sets and TAs. And when you graduate, you get a real diploma. And with the hands-on projects, that's not a MOOC at all. You're building a project using a tool and data set. That's on Coursera too. So I do think that MOOCs are still very important. They're an important part of Coursera, but it's one piece of a growing learning ecosystem.
It's time I have to finish. Thank you very much on behalf of all Enlighted partners, Fundación Telefónica, IE University, the South Summit, Fundación Santillana. I would like you to end with a message to the people, suffering this great lockdown, studying online, students seeing their education disrupted, people working at home. Give them a message, and thank you very much, Jeff, for your time.
Thank you. I want to thank you and IE University. My message to most is the future is about learning, and learning is opportunity. Learning has been the source of human progress since we started farming. The way that we can learn and share ideas has allowed us to transcend what every other species has done. And I think that the bright side of this pandemic is that we may see a future where not only can anyone learn online, anyone can get job opportunities online as well. So the ability to learn and the ability to have equal access to economic opportunity might be one of the most promising outcomes of this horrible pandemic.
Thank you.